Welcome to a robotic edition of ARG Presents. I'm your good pal, Amigo Aaron, joined by a man who does a real bad robot when it's dance night. I give you the Brent. Was that your robot? Oh, it's horrible. Horrible. You'll never make it in this town.
I'm programmed to fit in with the show.
You're programmed to suck. So...
You're right. I'm programmed to fit in with the show. I just said that.
You don't have to tell everybody. So if you joined us last week, we spun the wheel. We made the deal, the robotic deal, because this week, Brent,
we paid in our cryptocurrency.
That's right. At the bequest of Rob Flacco Hare, who submitted a piece idea, we will be doing robot madness, Brent. Robot madness. Now, we all love robots. They help us every day. They do all of our household chores. They do all those complicated jobs that no one wants to do, and it allows humans to just sit back, kick back, old school, relax. Robots bring us our drinks. It's just like the Jetsons, isn't it, Brent?
Well, I mean, we're getting there.
No, we're not.
We're definitely getting there.
Robots don't do jack.
If you've got the money, the future is now.
Do you remember, and it wasn't too long ago, we were just talking about the past a few minutes ago in the pre-show. Do you remember, Brent, when you were a kid, robots are supposed to come in and take care of business. They were going to take all human jobs. They were going to do all the hard stuff, and we were just going to kick back. It was going to be a glorious
utopia. They're only halfway through.
Yeah, well, we're not there yet, are we? Now we work on robots. They just menace us. They can kill us on the battlefield. We got that part down. We need to work on the rest of it. So today's topic is robot madness. We picked a couple games that feature robots heavily. But before we get into that, I thought we'd have a little discussion here, Brentster, on robots in video games. Now, robots they're right beside aliens, basically, as having the market cornered on video game appearances. Do you remember the early games featuring robots that you enjoyed?
Oh, I mean, you've got Berserk. That's probably the classic one,
yeah,
right?
Berserk and Frenzy are the first. In fact, those are the first two games that come to my mind when I think of robots in video games.
Well, not me, but I mean, those are definitely the earliest I can think of in an arcade setting. Of course, you've got Rob. That was Nintendo's gimmick to get Nintendos out the door in America, which I mean was very. The concept was there, just the execution was crap.
You know, Rob he's a cool looking bot. He looked cool in the box. He looked cool on the box. You're like, man, I'm getting Rob the robot. It's gonna be the bomb. But he really isn't worth a crap. I mean, when you is it just me? He doesn't. His games sucked, didn't they?
Well, I mean, yeah, he was a gimmick. It was 100% gimmick, but the gimmick worked, so you can't really fault the gimmick.
Yeah, it did work. And getting back to Berserk for a minute, listen, this was exactly what we were talking about. This is man's worst fear. Robots run amok, and as the robots come after the poor humanoid, they also badmouth him with the cool. That's what made that game spectacular. Were the cool robotic voices, stop the humanoid, stop the intruder. They loved that, and that it captured man's fear. Primal fear of machines in that particular game. What other robot-inspired games come to mind?
Well, the thing with robots is I kind of think they fell out of grace.
How do you figure?
They were replaced with zombies.
Yeah, you know, you're sort of right, aren't you? I guess we fear them more. Robots. Yeah. But I mean, there were some classic robots. We talked about last week that you famously banned any Mega Man games. And Mega Man technically is a robot, but he looks like a kid. So it's not the same if they don't look like robots.
And he fights all the other robot masters.
Right.
So it's super robotic.
I know, but they don't look like robots to me. You know, I think robots are like big metal guys. They don't look that human. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what about like Sonic games full of robots?
Well, yeah. What's his bad guy's name? Mr. Robotnik?
Well, it depends on what country you're talking about, but yes.
What country is that from? America? What's he called in Japan?
Dr. Eggman.
Oh yeah.
Oh no, it's reversed, right?
You got me.
Eggman over here, Robotnik over there.
What about when you were a kid, Brett? Were the Transformers a big deal?
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I mean, I remember having Transformer toys, and I was younger, so I didn't know if they were in vogue when you were younger. Did you have any of the Transformer guys? Did you watch the cartoon?
I had 3 or 4.
Yeah.
The most famous, of course, is the main bad guy. Help me out here.
Megatron?
Yeah. Do you remember when he transformed into a gun?
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually
I always thought that was
made
stupid.
quite a stir.
Well, but that's dumb. It wasn't a real
Hey,
gun.
well,
It
I'm
was like a
not saying
laser gun.
it was a good move.
If you're
I'm
the
just saying that was a big deal for a while.
if you're the main bad guy and your ultra power is to turn into something that someone else has to hold up, it's kind of weak. You know what I'm saying?
Well, also, Optimus Prime,
Yeah.
the big semi toy.
Yeah.
Did you own that or did I own that?
did.
I know I had
I owned it. I think I passed it down to you.
I think I stole it in the night.
Well, we probably. I know I don't have it now. I've still got Starscream, but I don't have that one. Now, did you ever play the horrible Transformers game from the
well,
C64?
which one? Oh yeah, that's garbage. That's all kinds of garbage.
It absolutely
But don't
is.
worry, Aaron. The horrible Transformer games continued for many, many, many years.
Oh yeah, I didn't play the more modern ones.
Actually, some of the more modern ones are okay. They're way better than the ones of yesteryear.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Robots were never. It's hard for me to think of robots as the villain, even outside of like Terminator, right?
Yeah.
Where obviously super bad guy, right?
Yeah.
There are so many robot good guys. RoboCop, for example, that they kind of balance out.
Is it RoboCop half robot, half man?
Well, yeah.
I guess that
He's
sort of
cyborg.
counts. And also there's good guy. When they made good guy Terminators, then you got that. Well, I mean, they did. You know, Arnie turned good. He was a good guy. Then they've got some good guy chick Terminators in the new ones. You know, so that kind of hosed up the whole thing. Plus, again, these things didn't look like robots. The ones in the future look like robots. The big silver guys. Do you remember the game, the Terminator Arcade, the gun game?
Oh yeah, great sound in that game.
That game presented tons of actual robots to shoot because they looked like the robotic metal guys in the arcade. You know, it's not like they were praying down a ton of human-looking guys. They didn't have the Robert Patrick-looking guy, the liquid silver guy. Remember him? That, by the way, Terminator 2, the best Terminator movie, bar none. So,
duh.
Yeah, there you go. So, with all that said, we had a wealth of video game choices to draw from. I'm going to lead the charge this week, Brent. It's funny, we both thought about this topic the exact second the show ended last week. And I knew right away what I was playing, and I think it took you a while. In fact, you actually wanted to play this game, then you moved on. Just for my own edification, why did you decide to go to something else, just to be different?
Well, that was the first game that came to mind, your game.
Yeah.
And I knew you loved that game.
That's true.
And I was like, oh, I'm going to play that for Aaron. And then I thought, wait a minute. Why in the world would I help that jerk out?
What?
So I moved on to a better game.
Listen, this is how he treats me, folks. Well, don't worry, because I went ahead and picked it anyway because it's a good game, and I wanted to learn a little bit about it. And so my pick this week for Robot Madness is an all-robot extravaganza simply known as BAM! Cyberball. That's the theme song. Cyberball.
I love to say, total robot action.
That's right. So Cyberball was a game released by Atari in 1988 in the arcade. Also developed by Atari and designed by a fellow named John Salwitz. John Salwitz had sort of a track record, Brent, if I may go into a couple of his... you may have heard of a few of his other games. He was designer of old Paperboy, Rampart, Clax. Yeah. He also did World Series...
What are those games?
World Series Baseball 2K3. And this is just the stuff that he was like designer programmer on. He had his fingers in many a good game over the year, but those are the big dogs. The music on this thing was composed by Brad Fuller, Hal Cannon, and this was released on multiple platforms, including the NES, the Genesis, the Atari ST, the Lynx, the Amiga, the C64, the Amstrad CPC, and the ZX Spectrum. All the versions that I've played at home were crap. They were crap. Yeah. Now
absolute junk.
I have heard the Atari Lynx version is okay. That one I haven't tried. But these home versions, they dropped the ball. They sullied the name of Cyberball. I'm making Cyberball cool again, Brent. So what is Cyberball? It's simple. This is a game of American football, sorta, where you take two 7-man robot teams, robots taking place of the humans and on the futuristic football field, and you try to score against the other team. Now, I'm going to kind of bulk the various versions of Cyberball together in this because there was sort of an update. Let's look at Cyberball as it was distributed in the arcade. Early on, you had a 2-player cabinet where 2 people could play, and you could play 2 people against the computer or 2 people against each other. You could also had a 4-player monster cab. The 4-player monster cab, that's the way you do it. Tournament Cyberball, where you could have 2-man teams. It was awesome, and we used to play this all the time at our local arcade. Our arcades had 2 of these Cyberball machines, one in each arcade. It was very popular back in the day. So here's how it works. You roll up to the machine, you put your credits in. Now, each game is divided into 6 periods, okay? And that means it's going to cost you got it, 6 big quarterinos to get through a game. They knew what they were doing, but it's $1.50 if you're keeping track. And you can also have the opportunity during the game to spend more money, which I'll get to that in a minute. So you get on there and you pick your team. Now, the original version of Cyberball was not as fleshed out as the Tournament Edition, so I'm going to mostly focus on that, but I will sort of explain the differences. First, you pick your opponent coach. The coaches you can choose from are Doc Davis, Sky Rogers, Grace Savage, and my personal favorite, I Am Pain. These are 4 different coaches, and when you look at them, they've all got little like animated pictures that they move around, and when you pick them, they'll have a little quote, and each one of them have a different strength or a different weakness in a facet of the game. Some are more defensive, some are more offensive, some are more balanced. Then you'll pick your team. Now, these teams change, but in the final version of Cyberball, your choices were the California Crush, which was a balanced team, the New York Thunder, which is a team based on passing, the Berlin Invasion, which was a team based on running, the Tokyo Flash, team based another balanced team, the Moscow Machine, got to have them in there for passing, and then the London Lightning, and they were a running team. So you'll go in there and pick your coach, the coach you're going to go against, and the team, and then you play. This is when you're playing basically with a partner, a single player. When you're playing 4 people against these, you don't have to go through this crap. You pick a team, that's it. When you get on the field, if you're familiar with American football, it's a similar concept, except it's a 7-man robot team on each side. The ball is effectively a made of energy. All right, it's basically like an energy ball, and so there's no kickoff. The ball just launches out of the ground, and then there's a return, and then you start playing. There are no downs in this like in American football. The ball, which is great. This is a great game to familiarize like a European with football, because this is
it's not.
Sure,
that's a horrible idea.
This is an easier way to do it because the ball starts off cool, okay, and as you run your plays, your offensive plays, the ball will get warmer. It goes from cool, and then you get a couple plays at cool. Then you get a couple plays at warm. Then you get a couple plays at hot. Okay? Then the ball goes critical. If you don't score on that play, that ball is going to explode. Okay? And if one of your guys is holding the ball, he explodes too. That's part of the fun. You're killing your own team, Britt. It's glorious. Now, you can control, when you play this by yourself, you basically play the quarterback on offense, and then you can pick who you want to be on defense. When you're playing with multiple people, the 2 of you can pick the 2 different players. So you can have a scenario where you're playing, for example, the quarterback and the receiver, or the quarterback and the halfback. You get options. So when you are on offense, you'll go to an offensive screen that lets you pick the formation. Like, do you want to go for a short running play, a medium play with like a different an option in it, or do you want to go for a long pass play? And then once you pick which type of play you want to go for, it lets you pick the actual plays you're going to run. In the older version of this, you get far less plays. In the more updated tournament version, they increased this by like 100 plays. They put a ton more plays in here to choose from. And by the way, really, this is a game you only want to play, Cyberball, the tournament version. It's the one that's all souped up that they updated the game. So once you get your offensive play chosen, you go out on the field. Your troops are lined up, and you go for the play. Now, it's just like American football. You'll either complete a pass, you will make a run, or your quarterback will get sacked, whatever happens. And as long as that ball isn't critical, you'll get to go again. There's a line on the field. It's a yellow
Midfield.
line, and this line is a diffuse line. This is the only way that you can get that ball to go back down to cool. You can go across it, and then once you do that, it will go back down to cool. That's it. If you don't see a yellow line on the field, there's no more going back to cool. You're boned. You've got to score. When you have a player that explodes, unfortunately, your replacement for him is a cheaper, crappier robot, which it makes this great. So if you've got like a steel robot as your running back and he blows up, they send in the plastic guy and he stinks.
Yeah.
So there you go. Now I mentioned earlier that you have the ability to spend extra money in this game because you got to, right, Brent? Occasionally, you will. It usually after every period, and sometimes even in the middle of the game, it will give you the opportunity to upgrade a player. Now, if you have a player that is smoking, the computer will tell you, listen, this guy's one hit away from exploding, all right? Because that's usually what happens when a guy gets hit a lot. During the actual game, in the play selection screen, if that guy's smoking, it will give you the option, if you've got the team funds, to repair that guy with in-game money, okay? During the periods where you're putting in money to continue the game, it will give you the opportunity to just pay money to make one of your players more awesome. All right? This is not a good thing, is it, Brent?
No, it's the early microtransactions of the arcade.
It is exactly. You stole my thunder right there. That's exactly what this is. This is a early microtransaction because if you've got a steel running back, for example, and you upgrade him with real human quarters to titanium, he's a better player, and you've got the best guy on the field now because you paid extra. This was heinous when you were playing somebody in the arcade and they did that to you because these guys were jerks. And so generally, we tried to keep a gentleman's agreement that no one did that when we were playing with people we knew. Did you ever have anybody do that to you in the arcade?
I never played this with other people.
Oh, I did.
I only played this
I
alone.
have had people do this in the arcade, and they reveled in their evil as they cranked this thing up. So if you've got old money bags coming to town and they does this, he can hose you. So when you get to the third period, after the third period's over, there's a halftime. And the halftime is they line up all your players in the field with all these mechanics and stuff, and they give you the opportunity to use in-game funds that you've earned to do repairs. Okay, now generally you probably haven't, unless you're a real ace at this, you probably haven't earned tons and tons of money. So you can usually only upgrade one or maybe two guys and repair them, and then you're going back out for the second half. In the second half, it's a lot more likely that your characters are going to be beat down because they've been hammered in the first half, and there's a lot more likelihood that they're going to explode when they get hit. So the game continues back and forth for 6 periods. At the end of the 6th period, whatever team is losing, whenever the time runs out, this little robot comes on the field and it destroys the entire team utterly. It disintegrates the entire team in a glorious explosion. There's nothing better than playing another human and watching his team go up in smoke. It's great. You talk about bragging rights. It's awesome. Now, that right there, it would be fun enough. That's a good game. It's got all the aspects of a good game. It's fast, it's easy to understand, and it's fun. But this game also includes, and of course, it 1 to 4 players. So that's awesome in the arcade. No, there was nothing doing that.
Yeah.
If you're by yourself,
Not for the time.
If you're by yourself, there's also the option to do what is called game breakers. Now, game breakers is I love game breakers, Brent. I don't know. You play game breakers a lot too, don't you? In game breakers, this is a scenario-based football game where you're by yourself. There's no game. What they do is they offer a situation, and you will earn a certain amount of money for every time you can complete that scenario. For example, let's say the ball is critical. You're on your opponent's 5-yard line, and you need to score and with this certain play. If you could succeed at that scenario, you'll get a certain amount of money. And when you get enough money accumulated, then you will move to the next level, the next round of game breakers. Sometimes you're on defense. You've got to hold the computer when the ball is hot, for example, through maybe 2 plays. It works great. There's no game there in terms of an actual football game. It's all scenario-based. And after so many rounds, it will clear off any of the failures you've had. When you fail to complete a scenario, you get basically an X And if you get 3X's, the game's over. This is a great way, a genius way, I thought, Brent, to give one player. I mean, you can still play a one-player game against the computer, but I almost always play game breakers instead. What do you think about the game breakers scenarios, Brent?
Well, you missed one critical thing about game breakers.
Oh, go ahead.
Every once in a while, the game you're playing, right? You've got your scenario set up and you're trying it, and it will say like, "Listen, if you run this play, we'll tack on an extra $10,000 to your bounty." And you're like, "Oh, okay, I'll try."
Yeah.
And it has ways of enticing you to make the game harder on yourself, and it does a really good job at it.
It does. It does a great job.
Or it might be like, you stopped him for 2 plays, but you want to challenge and maybe go for one more. You have to use this defensive play, see if you can stop him one more time. I thought that kind of stuff, absolute genius, because playing this alone, just the actual football game of it, I mean, it's good, but it's right?
Yeah.
Because you either are good enough to dominate the computer, or you're bad enough to get dominated. There's really no middle ground, at least I didn't find. And there are things that you can do to basically always win. There are techniques out there that you can beat the computer every time.
I don't know.
But I don't know him either. But I watched a guy. He ran the score up to over 100.
Some
like
people
130.
Some people have the plays memorized, and they're very good at it. Yeah, I agree with you on that.
So if you've got other people, play multiplayer, play on the same team. That kind of stuff's fun. Play 4 players, all that's good. But if you're alone, Game Breakers, I think, is a much better way to play.
Yeah.
Much better.
Yeah. Now,
also,
go ahead.
This is very arcade, as in it wants to eat your money, right?
Yeah.
So the in-game clock, each period is 3 minutes, and those 3 minutes go by in a flash. And if you spend any time at all picking your play, you've wasted your money.
Yeah.
You have to basically know exactly what you want to do and go straight to it, because the clock ticks down at an alarming rate.
Yeah, I agree with that.
One other thing you can do on single player is you can play just like a basic mode, like a beginner's mode. And what that does is you don't pick, running play, passing play, short, long pass. It gives you 4 plays. One's a run, one's an option, one's a short pass, one's a long pass, and you pick from those 4 plays. Which actually I think is a fine way of playing.
Yeah.
I don't have anything wrong with it. It gets you through the most tedious part of the game, picking your plays very quickly because you're limited on options. But this is a great game, and they packaged it well.
Yeah,
they really did.
And it's got a lot of flash. The sound effects are awesome. The crowd's awesome.
Yes.
It's
Atari sound,
yeah.
Atari arcade
sound. The announcer
sound,
is like this British chick that sounds awesome. By the way, this is supposed to take place in 2022. So next year, I'm assuming this is what the new XFL is going to be when they bring it back out. One thing I want to mention, we talked about the crapo ports. Okay, Cyberball came out in '88, and this upgraded version came out in '89. So it didn't take them long to make it way better.
Yeah.
In fact, all the ports that I've ever seen, except for I've heard the Lynx isn't like this, the other ones are. They're all ports of the original game. Okay, I can tell you right now, Cyberball as an original game in the arcade was not as good. It wasn't nearly as good. They added a lot of the cooler stuff with the the 2072 update, or the 2072 update, and also the tournament update, which is the difference between those two are just 2 or 4 players. So a lot of the consoles got that original Cyberball, and it stinks. The colors aren't as good. It doesn't have as many plays. It doesn't have as many options. It's just not as fun. It doesn't have game breakers. Doesn't have any of that stuff. And I wish Atari would have waited before they ported this, because I think this game would be a lot more popular amongst collectors and retro people if they had put out a proper version of it. That was one of the big letdowns of the game, is that they let it go too early. Basically, they should have waited, because surely someone knew at Atari that they were working on the updated version of this. I find it ridiculous that they did that, but it is what it is. Now, this game came out. A lot of people have seen this game at different cabinets. This game came out in conversion kits. They had conversion kits that it would even work in the Nintendo Dual System cab. They had all kinds of, so Atari was basically taking over other people's cabs with their updates for this. So of course it's such a goofy machine with the 4 players. There wasn't a whole lot of cabinets out there that you could update to that, but it does a good job. And you really need the dual screen version. That's the way to go. We've almost bought this a couple times, haven't we, Brent, over the years? It's just one of those games. It's so big, and
it's massive.
And I did look this up to see what they were going for now. Just the PCB, they're asking $200 for, and a Cyberball 2072 4-player cabinet. There, I found 2 of the 4 players going for $4,000 and $5,700 or best offer, and I saw a 2-player going for $4,700 or best offer. So, and I don't, while I don't think they're worth $5,000, I have no doubt that they're getting a couple grand out of these things, Brent. At the end of the day, I wouldn't be surprised at all at that. But overall, a fun game. I always enjoyed this one, Brentster. And when it comes to robot games, this is up on the top of the list, in my opinion. We did get some reviews on this thing, Brent, on the old Discord here. Our own John Boat of Carshaller writes, coming from what I consider to be Atari's Lost in the Weeds era of arcade games, I wasn't expecting much from this title. I was surprised. This is a fun game. The ball is a bomb that needs to be carried across midfield. Gimmick differentiates this enough from the NFL to make it interesting. The rotating sets of plays keep things fresh, and I appreciate the humorous touches of your robot exploding and being swept up. Battle chest style. Oh, I had to throw that in there. I'd love to try it out in its natural multi-screen arcade habitat. So Boat was down with it. Mitsuyama kicked in. I have to admit that I didn't spend very long on this game, but I enjoyed what I played. I managed to score a few touchdowns, but I couldn't work out how to regain possession from the opposition. It's an okay arcade American football game, but I don't know what having robots play adds to the game, apart from being able to have the ball explode. As a one-player game, I'd give it a 6 out of 10, but I imagine it's a lot more fun with multiplayers, and I would bump that up to an 8 out of 10. And I would agree with it is more fun with multiple people, Brent. So Cyberball, give this a shot. And I'll tell you, if you're not a fan of American football, I think you can still enjoy this game because the artificial limitations that they impose in this game, they make it easy to understand. You don't have to worry about penalties or yardage or any of that crap. Get ball over the fuse line so it doesn't explode. Get ball over score line. That's it. And then try to defend the other team. It's that simple, isn't it, Brent?
Yeah, I think this is definitely worthy of checking out for emulation. I obviously $5,000 for this is are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, it's an eBay price,
I know, but that's pinball territory, not arcade game territory.
What would you pay for the double-sided 4-player cabinet if it was available?
$900.
Well, you're probably dreaming because that's you are talking about effectively 2 arcade games.
I understand, but that's what what I value the game at.
There you go. So that was Cyberball, a great game. Again, don't bother playing this on the consoles. Go directly to the arcade version. It's the tippity top. Brent, you picked out a title that I'd not heard of. What do you have for us?
I picked a title I'd also not heard of, but apparently we're both idiots because it's a very popular game.
Yeah.
I picked Mr. Robot and his Robot Factory.
Indeed.
And this is a game originally released for the Atari 8-bit computers, was later converted to the Apple II and Commodore 64. Both conversions I did not check out. Aaron, did you look at the conversions at all?
I didn't know there even were conversions until today. I was looking up some stuff on it, but no, I just played the Atari version.
All right. What Mr. Robot is basically a minor 2049er game. It is a puzzle platformer with action elements. You've got your runs and your jumps and all that good stuff, and you have to basically go over all the platforms collecting dots, as it were, and you battle different fireball-like enemies. Very much think of Donkey Kong because they sort of look like it. And they sort of act like it. They will go up and down ladders, that sort of
They're
affair.
aggressive. Yeah.
Yes. And your defense mechanism against these evil nasties is you can pick up batteries, which will recharge your shield and allow you just to run into them and kill them. That alone kind of sounds like a lame remake concept. But what Mr. Robot does and makes it worthy of checking out, I highly recommend giving this game some emulation love, is the level design progressively adds different elements. And I'm talking a lot of different elements. You've got your conveyor belts, you've got your escalators, ladders, bombs, magnets, trampolines, all this crazy stuff that takes you through 22 levels. And the levels, in my opinion, increase in difficulty at a rate that is very fair. It has all your normal things. You can't fall from too great of a height. And it does really become a puzzle game, especially in later levels where you have to go the right way or you back yourself in a corner and you've got a dot on the left side of the screen that you can't really take care of.
Yeah.
The graphics on this, in my opinion, top notch. I think they are very good. They're very, very colorful in that Atari style, which I very much appreciate. And everything looks as it should. You never really have a question of, is this fall going to be too far for me to take? I think that from the level design aspect, they did a great job of letting you know what you can and cannot do. There are a few exceptions, but really they're not even worth mentioning. The controls on this, top notch. If you find yourself in a situation where you died, it's not because the control was messed up. Everything on this game felt really good to me. I played it with a keyboard and a controller. I actually think I prefer the keyboard, which is kind of odd for a game like this, but either of them are perfectly suitable. Other aspects of this game that are just off the charts, the opening title soundtrack is phenomenal. It is one of Atari's best, in my opinion. I looked it up on YouTube and just sat and listened to it over and over on repeat. Really great. That was done by a man named Gary Gilbertson, and he used a program that was developed by another folk from Philip Price called the Advanced Music Processor. And he was one of the first guys to really work with this, and it turned out fantastic. Did you give the title screen enough time to play through its song, Aaron?
Oh yeah, it is a great tune.
Yeah.
A lot of people underestimate the Atari's ability to generate music, and estimate it at your own peril because it could go.
Yes, yeah. Well, it could go in the right hands. Because
Correct.
I've heard tons of Atari music that's crap.
Well, it depends on how the talent of the musician and the ability to make the music. Yes.
Now, get this, Aaron. Not everyone got to hear that awesome title music.
Oh yeah.
This game was so quick to market that the first batch of discs they made actually did not include the title screen picture or the opening song.
The title screen picture is also awesome, by the way. I don't know if you mentioned
it's
that.
good.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as good as the song, but yeah.
Oh, I think it looks great. It looks great. I thought it was really nice.
So yeah, if you happen to come across a disc of this and you don't have the opening music or you don't have the opening title picture, it's because you've got a very, very early copy of the game. I'm not saying that makes it rare or valuable. In fact, I think that's a huge detriment to the game.
Yeah.
But there you go. Aaron, did you also know that this has a listing on Twin Galaxies? Now, I know pretty much any game can have a listing on Twin Galaxies, but this has a very respectable high score that you could tell someone actually put a little bit of time and effort into. So that kind of shows that the game has retained its popularity, so much so that in 2016, this game got a remake. I could not find if it was an officially licensed remake. It was for the Windows platform, but it's out there. It is the exact same levels, but with updated graphics and to run on Windows.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take a look at this outside of videos and screenshots. It looks okay, but in my opinion, really, you want to do the original because this game didn't need an update. Some
Yeah.
games need updates
You can
to
play this thing
really.
right in your browser. There's no reason to even bother messing with it. You don't need to
Yeah,
fool with it.
no, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree. Um, I do think it's interesting that this game did get a remake because I will have to say my Atari knowledge is not as expansive as some of the other systems, but I had never heard of this game before and was absolutely incredibly pleased at how well it played and how fun it was, especially considering I'm not a huge Miner 2049er fan. And this game, I don't know, it felt more playable to me. What do you think, Aaron?
Let's get one thing out of the way here. This is a Miner 2049er clone to the nines. Okay.
Yeah. With just some upgraded concepts.
They took the concept. I mean, they stole the concept. Let's say it's a loving tribute to Miner 2049. Let's go with that. Everything about this is the same. And what really gets you I play the heck out of that game, as you know. I would call myself an aficionado of Miner 2049er. And this game, even the way you fall and the way you jump, it's exactly the same. Everything. The same concepts of how to jump in Miner 2049, they transfer right over to this. All right? The platform work is exactly the same. So when this kicked up, I was like, oh boy, look at this. It's just going to be one of these, because a lot of games ripped off Miner 2049. This game, though, if you ever played the sequel, Bounty Bob Strikes Back, which I have, and I thought it was okay. But this right here was more of what I was looking for in the sequel. Because they take the concepts of Miner 2049 and they ratchet them in weird ways. Like, they do stuff you wouldn't expect. Also, I will say, graphically, this is way better than Miner 2049. It's more attractive. The package is better. The music is better. I knew I was in for a treat right away. On the very first level, and you didn't mention this, the very first thing you see right beside your character is a musical note, and if you jump up and click it, the music goes off. So you could actually literally decide on screen if you want music or not. I thought that was a great idea.
It was.
I thought the emulator had screwed up because I jumped up and I didn't know there was no music. And what happened? Well, that's because I'd clicked I'd hit that thing. So I thought that was clever. The shielding thing you get to take on the bad guys, it's very similar to what would happen in the other game, where they would turn blue and you could run over. I mean, like I said, there's nothing original here in terms of the actual base gameplay, but the levels are clever. The teleporters, the escalators, the trampolines. There's a level where you run across bombs that there are platforms. The way that the levels, listen, I could sit down and write a Miner 2049er clone. Any jerk could, right? It's understanding the principle of how to make the levels for that game. If you don't understand that principle, you're gonna look like an idiot. You know what I'm saying? This game, they understood what made the original game so good. You have to have the levels set up to where it's puzzly. It's a puzzly platform. That's what makes it fun. How do I do that? What pattern do I use to get there? It was my experience that the timer on this was a little less brutal than the one in Miner 2049. So I'll give it that. At least on the levels I got to. I didn't get mega far into it because it's not the easiest game. The controls are fine. Listen, this is much like Miner 2049. This is a game that plays fair with you. It doesn't screw you. It doesn't give you a cheap death. It shows you how far you can fall. And if you can't remember it, that's on you. If you jump too far and you die and you're like, what happened? That was on you. It plays by the same set of rules every time. And I appreciate a game like that. It's not an easy game. It's not an easy game for you to understand the principles of how far that Mr. Robot can jump. I mean, when you do a running jump and you're going down a platform, you only can go so far. That's just the way it is. And that is part of the. It's not like some of these games that me and Boat play on the Amigos, where you take this fall damage or you die, and it feels cheap. That is baked into this game, and the levels are based on your ability to fall and jump at certain points for so far. So it's fair. That's what I like about it. This game, I've never heard of this game in my life, man. And I don't know how I missed it because it's right up my alley. like when I played this game, I didn't know what you'd picked. I don't know how'd you come across this, by the way, if I may ask.
I did a search for robot games.
Yeah, yeah,
and I looked at about, I don't know, 10 or 12 of them.
yeah.
And then I thought, Mr. Robot and the Robot Factory. Well, that says robot twice.
Yeah.
I'm going for that.
Yeah. Yeah. This one. I've never heard of this, man, and I thought it was just awesome. If you can get over the fact that don't be fooled. It's a complete ripoff of Miner 2049er. But if you can get over that, then you've got a straight up winner here. Very excited about this one, Brent. And it's one that I can play. I love finding games that I want to play on these old machines that I've never come across. And this one right here, this is a straight up winner. This is the big winner. I think you've really. I mean, it may be common knowledge to a lot of people, but it was news to me. And as far as I'm concerned, when that happens, that means we've got a sleeper hit here. So I gave this one an enthusiastic thumbs up.
Now there is a few questions you have to ask yourself.
Yeah.
What's the factory part of this game? Well, let me tell you, Aaron, the game, it's awesome, right? But it's kind of short. 22 levels. I was able to make it through about 18 of them.
Oh, wow. You got further than
during
I
my
did.
playtime.
Yeah.
Oh, I really grinded this pretty hard. Yeah. But here is where the game goes from, man, that's pretty awesome, to frickin' fantastic. And that is the factory part of the game, where you can make your own levels. And I don't mean little rinky-dink, let's put these tile sets together and try to make something. No, you have 100% creative control of placing every object in every tile set to make whatever level you want. And if you have the floppy version, which there's a tape version and a floppy version.
Yeah.
The biggest difference being you cannot save your levels on the tape version. But on the disc version, you can save up to 26 custom levels. So you can actually save more levels than come originally with the game.
So you're telling me this is the floppy versions, both versions have a level editor that are baked in?
A completely optimizable level editor. Yes, indeed.
Wow, that's awesome.
Talking, you can choose where the guy starts. You can choose what platforms have dots, don't have dots.
Yeah.
All the toys are there, and it is super duper easy. You literally go to the bottom of the screen, pick what you want to basically paint with.
Yeah.
And then you go up in the screen and you start putting them in place.
Did you try this out?
I did, yes.
Now, let me ask you, are there custom levels that you could go and download? Did you look into that?
I did not look into that.
There's got to be a community of these, surely.
I do not know.
That's awesome.
But I do know that this game, 1983, level editor, fully customizable.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a great game. Plus, it has an incredibly awesome opening title screen and music.
Yeah.
This is literally the complete package for your Atari system. I super enjoyed my time with this. I played this multiple sessions of this. Usually I try to sit down, play a game for a few hours, depending on what kind of game it is. Sometimes you obviously need to give it more time. But I came back to this again and again and again and enjoyed it every time I loaded it back up. You don't even have to start on the first level. You can actually, baked into the game, you can go to more advanced levels just right off the bat, hit the select button a few times, boom, you're there. So it allows you to really explore all the different concepts that are available.
Here's a little clip of the music, by the way. If you want to hear what this, listen to this theme here, Brent, since we were talking about it. Here we go. That's it fits the premise of the game quite nicely, doesn't it, Brent?
Yeah, I really think the music is awesome in this. It's worth. I mean, if you don't want to play the game, the music's worth looking up on YouTube and giving it a watch.
I agree.
You can own this game. I could not find an Atari release.
Yeah.
The only thing up on eBay right now is the Commodore 64 floppy version for $33, which I think's a steal. I think if you own an Atari, and this game is floating around, because this game was originally released, Aaron, $35.
Yeah.
Back in the day, $35. That's a huge price tag, but I think it deserves it. If I saw this, and I was an Atari owner for $35, you have to own it. This is a game you have to own.
One thing you got to remember is that the original Miner 2499 was one of the higher priced games ever released at the time. So if you're going to rip it off, you might as well take everything, including the higher price.
Now, Aaron, did we get any Discord reviews on this?
We did. Our own John Bodovkar Schaller writes, "It's my first review from playing on the Mister. Like an unholy alliance of Manic Miner and Miner 2049, Mr. Robot combines the precise movement and jumping of the former with the clean the floor mechanic of the latter. A unique touch is the management of your power pellets scattered around the level that grant you invincibility. You must time their pickup precisely to be able to defeat the monsters in your way. Unlike Manic or 2049er, this game forces you to do everything right on one attempt because of the fall damage and the way the levels are structured. If you miss a part of the floor, there's no way to get back to it. On the plus side, the controls are good, so if you do mess up, you only have yourself to blame." I agree with most of that. Mitsuyama writes, "A classic platform puzzler. There are many games in this genre, and this is a particularly good example. I like the music and the colorful graphics. The controls are precise, and the level design is well thought out. Introducing bombs and magnets, we forgot about the magnets, keep things interesting. Allowing the player to start on any of the 22 levels is a great decision, but including a level designer is the icing on the cake. There is enough here to keep the player entertained for weeks. 8 out of 10. So he was down with it, Brent.
Yeah. I will have to say, this game does have one disappointing element.
Yeah.
The manual for this thing is poop.
Oh, really?
And I mean, it actually it detracts from the game. You could have, with the graphics you had, right, and what was going on in the game, you could have really played up the lore. You could have given a reason why he's going around trying to, collect all these pellets.
Yeah.
Collecting the batteries and destroying the alien fire is what they call it. But that was completely ball dropped in that area. The manual is no fun. It's unfitting for a game of this caliber.
It does have in-game instructions on the main menu, so I will say that.
Yes.
It's got that going for it. But hey, in fact, you can't let the manual bring it down. I think that's irrelevant.
No, but, with a game like this, I really expected a good reason, I guess, to be doing what you're doing, and it doesn't do that. And I think it's just why go all the way and then flub up your documentation?
Yeah, well, there you go. I will say, just to close it on my side, if you're looking for a challenge after playing Mario 2049 or like the next evolution, this is your baby right here. It's everything I love about platforming. It's everything I love about a game like Jumpman or Mario 2049 or Donkey Kong. It's just you're out there and there's so much freedom of movement, places to go. It's exciting. It's fun. It makes you think. It's a big-time winner. Big-time winner, Brent, on this one. Speaking of big-time winners, let's see what we're playing next week on the wheel, Brent. Let's go for it, man.
All right, let's spin it.
All right. So, we have added a few things this week. Our Retro Rewind piece, 50-plus hours. Games that we paid for 50-plus hours. And our new piece, Pokey Chip games. Games requiring a Pokey Chip. Are you ready, the Brent?
I am. Spin her up.
Whoa! Here we go. Here we go. What's it going to be? And the winner is C64 cartridge games, Brent.
Oh,
C64 cartridge games. So these are going to be games that were released on the C64 only on cartridge, Brent. That should be interesting. I believe that may have been a suggested piece as well. Let me have a quick look here and see it was. And the suggestion came from Christian Givesgow. I hope I pronounced that right. So thank you, Christian, for sending that over. Your wish is our command, my friend. That should be a good time. Now, Brent, you had some announcements you want to take care of. Please go to work.
Yes, next week, Aaron, is the big week where we are going to spin the prize wheel, and we are going to give away an ARG lanyard, a coin mech keychain, and of course the grand prize, the Dragon's Lair Mini. And I'm sure those who are not on the wheel of prizes would be very happy for us to shut up about it. But this week, we have to pick 2 people who will come onto the wheel late. Of course, it's a 10-slot wheel. We're going to spin that bad boy. Someone's going to win, and then they have to be removed from the wheel so a new participant can come in. So, right now, I'm going to pull up my handy-dandy...
One would wonder why you just didn't take 10 participants as opposed to 12, but that's either here nor there.
We're going to pull up our handy-dandy random.org.
So these are people that will... Now, what's going to be spun for first, then? Will the big prizes or the little prizes?
Obviously, the little prizes will go first.
So these
will be lanyard.
These people are still they're going to be still in the running for the big prize.
That's correct.
Okay, so
correct.
if Brent hoses you here, don't feel bad. He's randomly picking 2 people. Go ahead.
So number 11, which means this person will go on after the first prize is chosen. Random results here. That is going to be Adam Troifano.
Okay.
Adam Troifano will go on second.
And then who's next?
And the person who will just be around for the grand prize is going to be Frontier Gibberish.
All right. A great
Frontier
name.
Gibberish will be the last participant on the wheel. So, Aaron, that's kind of fun. That was the first person was Frontier Gibberish. That was the first name that we randomly chose to be on the wheel, and he's actually going to be the last person on the wheel.
There you go. Now, so what you're saying is next week, at the end of next week's show, you will spin the wheel, and you'll make the deal and give away all these prizes next week on ARG Presents. Good to know.
That's right.
That will be March 28th, I believe, will be next week's show date. So please tune in, and we'll put this contest to bed. The Brent contest. How many months has been going on? Are you trying to eclipse?
You're giving away primo prizes.
I understand. We're going for the record. Me and Boat set with our Amiga giveaway from the first year of the show that took like 8 million. Defender of the Crown, Super Redux version. It took forever to give away. I want to make a quick announcement to everyone. It's happening. Oh, it's happening next Saturday, which will be March the 27th. International Computer Club. It's going down, Brent. It'll be 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. International Computer Club, a gathering of all the luminaries and geniuses and nerds and geeks from all over the world into one room to talk computers. We've got 6 presenters already lined up. There may be 1 or 2 more that come sneaking in. It should be a good time. If you're a member of our Discord, you are more than welcome to be on the show. I mean, we're going to do it with Zoom. Right before the show, I'm going to release the Zoom information onto the Discord. And you're invited to sit in with us, chat, enjoy it. If you're not a Discord member or you're just not so inclined, we'll be broadcasting on Twitch. So you'll be able to go over to the Amigos Retro Gaming Twitch channel and watch the International Computer Club next Saturday, starting at 5:30 Eastern Standard Time. I hope everyone will come out and join us. And this will be the 3rd meeting, Brent, and the first 2 were pretty successful, so I think we'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah, these have amazingly not sucked. So I'm actually looking forward to it.
Listen, I don't want to toot my own horn. Of course they don't suck. I'm right there. I'm pulling the strings. Pull the string! Just like in Ed Wood. Any final thoughts, Brent, before we take off?
I've got some banana pudding upstairs. I'm going to go eat it.
That's good eating. We'll see you guys next week for C64 cartridge games. Until then, bon voyage!
Thanks for joining us today. We really hope you enjoyed the show. Hello to our YouTube subscribers and our Twitch followers. A special thank you to Duncan Styles for our vector graphics and Bartbit for an amazing closing theme. Want to help keep ARG spinning for as little as $1 a month? You can do so at our new Patreon at patreon.com/ARGpresents. Just like these fine folks: Graham W. Vetke, Rollo, Olaf Hope, Anthony Jarvis, Terry Howard, Gary Heather,
John Schaller, The Slow Norris, Frodo NL, Steve Rasmussen, Bernhard Lucas, Chris Folds, Mitsuyama, Jason Warnes, Rob Flack O'Hara, Andy Craig, Dave Velociraptor, Retroalgy, Hermsky,
Roushi,
John Dykeman, Jerry Dennington, Z9K9, and Mr. B. Don't want to explain another credit card bill? That's okay too. You can help us out by leaving us a positive review on Spotify or Apple iTunes. Have an idea for a wheel piece? Email it to us at argpresents@mail.com. We film live every Sunday, 10 a.m. EDT on Twitch. Hope to see you there.